Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep underground. Using Mason, Ohio as our fascinating microcosm, we're going to uncover the hidden infrastructure threats right beneath our feet. I'm so excited to guide you through this because whether you live in the Midwest or anywhere with shifting seasons and tricky soil, what's happening inside your walls and under your lawn right now is a silent, high-stakes battle you definitely need to know about. We'll be walking through 5 main things today: the unseen enemies underground, the anatomy of a breakdown, the professional fix, the economics of plumbing, and the evolution of pipes. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The Unseen Underground Enemies. Underground Threats.
You know, when you're sitting inside your home, you probably feel pretty secure, right? You might think it's just standard age causing those sudden, annoying leaks. But actually, nature is constantly attacking your plumbing from the outside in. So what's secretly destroying your pipes right now? It's really not just wear and tear. It's the environment itself, waging a relentless campaign against your home's defenses. Places like Mason, Ohio, for example, create the absolute perfect storm for plumbing failure. First up, we've got expansive clay soil. When this stuff gets wet from heavy rain, it swells massively. And then when it dries out in the summer heat, it violently contracts. This constant, heavy shifting is literally pulling, bending, and stressing your underground pipes until they just snap. Then you factor in the brutal freeze-thaw cycles of the Midwest. Water turns to ice inside exterior and crawl space lines, and it expands with enough force to shred metal and plastic alike. No joke. Finally, add in mineral-heavy water pumped from underground aquifers. That mineral content accelerates chalky scale buildup, quietly eating away at the internal components of your water heaters year after year. I mean, it's a true triple threat.
Section 2. Anatomy of a breakdown. When systems fail.
Okay, to really understand a breakdown, we first have to look at the DWV. That's the Drainage Waste Vent System. This is a gravity-fed network of drains and vent pipes engineered to remove wastewater and, crucially, prevent hazardous sewer gas buildup in your home. This whole shebang relies entirely on the steady pull of gravity and highly precise venting. Without proper airflow from those vents, well, your drains start to gurgle, water drains sluggishly, and dangerous, highly combustible gases can literally seep right into your living room. Yikes. So these environmental pressures actually lead to some incredibly messy, real-world disasters. Let's look at tree roots. They instinctively seek out moisture and nutrients, sending these microscopic hair-like roots to invade even the tiniest hairline cracks in older clay sewer lines. Once they're inside, they expand and multiply until they cause a total disastrous sewage backup. Then you've got spring storms, which can easily overwhelm aging sump pumps, especially for homes built near places like the Little Miami River watershed where the water table's already super high. Add to that water heaters, choked by those hard water minerals we talked about. They often fail and rust out from the inside after just 8 to 12 years of use. And of course, ice dams bursting uninsulated supply lines, which can release hundreds of gallons of pressurized water into your home while you're fast asleep. Now, I know it might be super tempting to tackle these breakdowns yourself to save a little cash. But listen, while a simple DIY toilet flopper fix saves you $20 and takes maybe 5 minutes, attempting an unpermitted DIY pipe solder on a pressurized supply line, that is a massive gamble. A single weak joint could cause thousands of dollars in catastrophic, hidden water damage inside your drywall. And honestly, worse yet, if an insurance adjuster discovers you didn't pull the correct county permits for that plumbing work, your insurance company might completely deny your entire flood claim. So sometimes, trying to save a few dollars ends up costing you your entire basement remodel.
Section 3. The Professional Fix. Structured Solutions.
When disaster strikes, professional outfits like Keystone Plumbing use a really seamless 3-step process to transform absolute chaos back to normal. Step 1 is immediate 24/7 contact and dispatch because, let's face it, frozen pipes and overflowing toilets do not care if it's a Tuesday afternoon or Christmas morning. Step 2 is diagnosis and approval, where a technician breaks down the problem using clear language and gives you upfront pricing. And Step 3 is the actual repair and completion. This involves using tested, code-compliant methods and heavy-duty, pro-grade parts so you aren't forced to call them back in 6 months for the exact same leak.
And the really crucial point here is the guarantee of transparency. No surprise charges appear on your invoice for trip fees or diagnostic time. You approve the full cost before a single wrench is even picked up. That high level of transparency and communication, that's exactly what separates a stressful, chaotic emergency from a smoothly managed, predictable solution.
Section 4. The Economics of Plumbing. Cost of Expertise.
Now, you might be a little surprised to learn that experienced plumbers, particularly in growing markets like Southwest Ohio, regularly exceed six-figure salaries. Yes, we are talking well over $100,000 a year. But it's certainly not unearned. Protecting public health and managing complex residential infrastructure requires some serious, highly technical expertise. This top-tier earning potential is generally reserved for master plumbers, which is the absolute highest professional level in the trade. Reaching this rank is no small feat. It requires passing incredibly rigorous state board exams, putting in a minimum of 5 to 7 years of hands-on field experience, and earning the legal authority to actually design complex plumbing systems from scratch and pull county permits. I mean, they aren't just slapping a bandage on a leaky pipe. They are literally engineering the safe, sanitary water flow of your entire home and taking on massive legal liability in the process. When you look at the rates, standard residential service generally ranges from $85 to $150 an hour. But if you need emergency service at 2 a.m. on a Sunday because your finished basement is rapidly becoming an indoor swimming pool, that premium rate pushes up to $150 to $200 an hour. And that higher rate directly accounts for the rapid 24/7 response, the specialized water extraction and diagnostic equipment they bring, and just the sheer immediate value of stopping severe property damage dead in its tracks. So a typical job is actually billed in three parts. First, you have the initial trip fee, usually between $75 and $100, which basically covers getting a massive, fully stocked rolling warehouse right to your driveway. Then you have the labor costs, which pays for that highly skilled, deeply trained master plumber's time. And finally, the cost covers the pro-grade parts and materials. It really is a high-value, comprehensive service that factors in extensive ongoing training, expensive, specialized diagnostic tools, and some pretty hefty corporate liability insurance.
Section 5. The Evolution of Pipes, a History of Plumbing. Tracing the history of housing booms in places like Mason gives us a fascinating timeline of innovation. Back in the 1960s, homes were predominantly built with heavy, galvanized steel water lines. The huge problem with those? They rust and scale from the inside out over decades, restricting your water pressure to a tiny trickle and contaminating your drinking water with rust particles. Definitely not great. By the 1980s and 90s, builders wisely shifted to rigid copper and PVC. Massive improvement for sure, but copper can easily burst when subjected to freezing temperatures. Today, the absolute gold standard in the industry is flexible PEX tubing. It can snake through walls without complex joints, and more importantly, it actually expands slightly under pressure, making it highly resilient to those brutal freeze-thaw cycles we discussed earlier.
There is a really harsh reality hitting many neighborhoods today. Original plumbing systems are reaching the end of their design life just as environmental stresses take their toll. This is exactly why so many homes built during the massive 1990s housing boom in expansive suburban areas like Deerfield Township are suddenly experiencing simultaneous massive plumbing failures. Their 30-year design life is simply up, right at the exact moment the shifting clay soil and freezing winters hit their aging materials the absolute hardest. So, the final thought I'm going to leave you with is this. Do you actually know what materials are currently fighting a silent war against nature inside your own walls? Are you protected by modern, flexible PEX, or is a 1990s copper pipe slowly giving way to the freezing cold right above your living room ceiling? It is definitely worth finding out before nature decides to show you the hard way. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and stay dry out there.